This month I was supposed to start Yakuza 5 and failed, but I did serve a lot of drinks, so let's talk about that instead. I've not really done very much so far this year. I've done more work on the house, obviously. I bought some things that I won't talk about too much because you might see them in a video next month. Yeah, probably next month, to be honest. We went out to one of the museums in my city. Does a thing for Chinese New Year every year. They have a load of Asian cultural stuff all in one night. So they have a dragon dance, and they were supposed to have a Taiwanese food stand, but that wasn't there. But there was a Malaysian food stand, which we got some of the food from. I realise I'm not saying very much, but honestly, this year there wasn't that much. Last year we went and they had basically the same stuff I've already talked about, and they also had origami sessions and calligraphy sessions and stuff like that, and we did those last year. And then they just had the same stuff again this year, so we didn't feel the need to do it again, especially because it wasn't handled particularly well last time, so we didn't have a whole lot of hope for it again this time. And then we just left, and oh yeah, that was it. That was the night I was really ill. We left from there, and we were going to get some food in town, but we decided not to, so we just came home and got a garlic bread. We just got a garlic bread with cheese and shared it. And then as we were walking around, I stopped being able to see for a while, and this has happened to me once or twice before, and it's called an ocular migraine. It's basically a migraine that means you can't see, kind of in the name. The issue was that I still had all my stuff to do for the day. I had actually done quite a bit, but there was some stuff I needed to do when I came home, and I came back and I managed to do my dailies for 14 by covering one of my eyes, because it meant that I could see out of the other one okay. So I was basically playing one-handed, which sounds bad, but I was only really running Praetorium, and I play as a Sage. So most of it's just standing in one place, shielding, and then press the same 3 keys over and over again, so there wasn't really much to worry about. I managed to get that done, and then I played a little bit of Tactical Breach Wizards, and ended up not being able to, because I just couldn't focus on it, so I think I played half of a level and turned it off. And then I played a bit of Metaphor. I played through one day, but I didn't even look at the screen. I had my head lay on my desk with my eyes closed, and I had the game on autoplay, and it just went through a few cutscenes, and then I turned it off. Luckily they were all voiced cutscenes, so I didn't even have to read anything. I managed to just let it play through a few cutscenes. It was a terrible idea, but I got that done. And then I just went and passed out. I could not do anything. It was really bad. I've had a few of these before, and everyone's been basically the same. I just get a migraine. It starts off as I lose the ability to see. This time my eyes wouldn't focus. I was really uncomfortable because I'd be trying to look at something and my eyes just would not focus on what I was trying to look at, so I couldn't. And then over time it went from that to I couldn't see at all, and then it was after that the headache started, and then that became really intense nausea and a really bad headache, and then I just gave up on existing anymore and just went and passed out. It was awful. But luckily once I woke up I was pretty much okay. My head was still a bit tender for the next day, but I managed to get stuff done. I think that's probably the most interesting thing I've done. It's mostly just work on the house. That I made a lot of videos, but you've seen all those now. I've been getting ahead of my work a lot more recently, which is nice because TikTok have changed the way that they handle uploads, which has made it a lot easier for me. They used to only let you upload 10 days ahead, which basically meant I had to make all of my videos 1 week at a time, which is fine, but it does also mean you can't really get ahead of what you're doing. But they changed that recently, so I've been able to just make a video as soon as I'm ready to make a video, and then just get it all up and upload, and then just leave it to do itself, basically. So I've been uploading weeks ahead of time. Other than that, there's not really been much so far. I've got some stuff planned, but I'm going to talk about those in the channel update later on anyway. So my original plan for the podcast was to talk about the things I'm looking forward to this year, but honestly there isn't that much. I'm looking forward to Assassin's Creed Shadows, but that just got delayed again. There's Captain America, but that's coming out in 2 weeks, so there's not even much of a wait. There's also Monster Hunter Wilds, which is coming out pretty soon as well. Although the weird thing for that is that I don't actually remember buying it, but I apparently did because there's money gone out of my account, and I have an email saying I bought it, but I have no recollection of doing it whatsoever, so I guess I'm going to have that on release. But I kind of blame my lack of enthusiasm on the death of E3, actually. Having all of the game announcements consolidate in such a short time frame meant that I kind of looked forward to E3 as an event, as much as I would end up looking forward to the games that got announced there. I'd watch everything, and then make lists of the games that were coming out that I was looking forward to, and now I just kind of don't do any of that. Summer Games Fest, which kind of took its place, but it just feels too disjointed for me to really get into. It's just so all over the place. E3 was all together, you know what I mean? Even if you weren't at E3, you had your stuff at the same time as E3, and now they're up to like weeks apart, and it just, because it doesn't capture the same feeling, I am less interested in it, and because I'm less interested in it, I end up not watching any of it. Like, you'd think that I would just pick and choose stuff now, but now I just don't do any of it. And then there's also Opening Night Live, which I have never watched. I've just never watched a single one of them. I was actually at Gamescom when they had the first one on, which I think was also the last year I went to Gamescom. But I've never paid attention to that at all. The only kind of big gaming event I even look at anymore is the Game Awards. And people always make such a big deal about all the announcements there, but half of them aren't real. What I mean is that half of them are announcements for things that are coming out in like years away. Like Okami 2 got announced. We're not going to see that for like 10 years practically. It's not that it's not interesting, but it's just that the amount of things that get announced there are not as many as people make it out to be, but also they're like, tend to be quite broad, and E3 was always a lot more narrow. E3 was always much more like, this is what's happening this year or next year, you know? Whereas Game Awards is more like general future. The issue is that it's just left this like void that I never bothered to fill. So honestly, I just end up a lot more surprised by games that come out now. It's kind of nice in some ways that it's a surprise all the time, so there's always something new, but in other ways, like, I don't have anything to actually look forward to anymore. So at the start of the year, I had to choose a new LP, and I was originally going to do Yakuza 5. I even made jokes about playing Yakuza 5 in last month's podcast and then I decided just not to, and to do Tavern Talk instead. The reason for that is because I thought it would be nice to have another short LP in between Yakuza LPs. Dead Souls had finished on like the 18th of December, and then I did get Just a To the Moon series beach episode. I really don't like the name. I did do that, but even then that was only like a week really, wasn't it? So I wanted to get something else out in between, and I had heard Tavern Talk wasn't that long, so I was like, oh yeah, I can do that. And I've finished recording the base game. I'm going to do the DLC as well, but that's not going to finish now till April. I wanted to get another short LP out in between them, and now it's going to take up a quarter of the year. I've been debating doing more LPs, just because I feel like I'm only getting through a couple each year, and I'd like to do some more of them, but I'm not sure about that yet. I'm not sure how it'd look. Maybe have short games and a long game going on at the same time, like an episode every day, and the short game would just be a couple of episodes a week. The short game would be like 3 episodes a week like my normal LPs are, and maybe the long LP would be an episode every day, but I'm not totally sure, and I don't know how that would affect doing my Final Fantasy streams. I mean, it doesn't necessarily need to affect it at all, but you know what I'm saying, like, I'm not sure about it. It's a lot more work. At the moment, I'm in a position where I could do it, but I've also got all this work on the house to do, so I'm not totally sure if I want to start doing more video work at the same time at the moment. I need to think about it, because, like, I've still got so many Yakuza games to play, and I want to play more of them. Maybe I could have a Yakuza LP going at all times, and then just have a short LP on top of it as well. I'm going to think about it, but I'm not totally sure. I was also kind of worried for a while about the TikTok shutdown thing in America. Not necessarily panicking about it, but I was worried about it. And then ended up just like going and checking my metrics, and it turns out only 7% of my TikTok traffic is from America anyway, so it wouldn't really have affected me in the slightest. I would have lost about 70 views a video. That's fine. I'd be okay. I was mostly worried about it just because if it had been a large proportion, the reason I get my sponsored stuff is mostly because of my TikTok numbers. So if my TikTok numbers drop too low, I'll stop getting sponsored stuff at all, and I'd like getting sponsored stuff. It makes me feel just a little bit successful. I have been seeing a lot more views and subscriptions over on my YouTube Shorts channel though recently, so that's kind of nice. I'm not sure if it's related. I could see it being, but at the same time maybe YouTube's just decided to start showing my videos to people again. I do wish I had some idea how it worked, but I really don't. I mentioned earlier that I'd bought some stuff that you might see in a video coming up. To further expand on that, I originally said that my Game of the Year 2024 video would be next month, but I've decided it's just not going to be, and it's just going to be when it's done, basically. I'm about halfway through Metaphor right now, so I want to get that finished before I make the video. It's basically what I did with Baldur's Gate last year. There's that, and then Tavern Talk, I have, like I said, technically finished playing, but the videos won't have finished coming out until April. So it would feel really weird to release a video next month talking about a game that I've finished playing that I haven't shown people I've finished playing for 2 months after that. Like, it's hardly the end of the world, but it wouldn't feel right. And again, when I've not finished playing Metaphor anyway, I would rather wait. But then considering how well my Game of the Year 2023 video did coming out in December last year, I'm debating pushing this all the way back to December as well. I think it's just a matter of people are searching Game of the Year videos in December because everyone releases their Game of the Year videos in December. And I don't want to do that. I think it's stupid to release a Game of the Year video for the year you're in the year you're in. That is ridiculous. There are more games coming out until the last day. And again, I won't have finished every game from this year. Like, I'm still playing Metaphor now. It doesn't work like that. It's not like there's going to be any more games released in 2024 now. So it gives me more time to catch up on them. And that'll just make it a better video overall if I do that anyway. I think I can still catch the traffic, basically. Even if it is an old year's video. And as long as it's a good video, which it should be. Because I think my last one, I understand how to make it a bit better now. Like, every time I make one of these, it gets a bit better. I still feel like it needs a bit of pacing work. But I'm kind of happy with how it looks. I just need the pacing to be better. And I need to not make some mistakes, like I forgot to mention one of my sponsored games in that one. I disclosed that the video was sponsored, but one of the games specifically I forgot to mention. I've rectified it as best I can, but just like simple little mistakes, making the pacing feel a little bit better, but I think overall I'm happy with how that video did. So I'm hoping to do that again this year. I just don't know if it's just going to be a matter of, I'll release this video when I finish Metaphor, or if I'm going to release this video in December again, and try and catch the traffic again. It just feels like a long time to wait just to see if my hunch pays off. Special thanks to all of my patrons. You can join them over at patreon.com/Holden Gatsby, and for $1 a month you'll get to see what I'm working on early and get exclusive roles in my Discord along with other rewards I might think of. You can also just follow me there if you want to for free, as it's probably the best place to see all of my content as soon as it's available. There's links to the Patreon, along with my Discord, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Twitch, and all the other podcast platforms in the description for this episode. Finally, don't forget you can email me using podencastby@gmail.com if you've got anything you want to say. Thanks for sticking around. Bye. Special thanks to my patrons, Justin Wood, Hobbs, and Koopy Vegeta. You can join my patrons at patreon.com/Holden Gatsby, check out my TikTok and Twitter @Holden Gatsby, and follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Holden Gatsby. Don't forget to subscribe to all of my channels. If you want more, you can watch my last video now, but if not, then thanks for sticking around. Bye.